All right, we are ready for our last video lesson. This is video lesson 5, and this covers chapter 18 of the Digital Marketing Analytics book. If you've got any questions related to the group influence conversation we had on Tuesday, please don't hesitate to email or post some things on Twitter. I'm actually in Seattle right now, but this is your job for the day to get through this video lesson, to take the video lesson feedback quiz number 5, it's the last one, and to get started on the platform principles modules for Google Analytics. Because again, we're getting closer to time for you to take the Google Analytics certification exam, which you are all going to pass. You're all going to pass. Listen to others. All going to pass. Okay, so this is all about, chapter 18 is all about return on investment. And so the question is, all these things we're doing with digital, we've got a web page, we've got a social media presence, we've been listening to our social media, we've been analyzing people's behavior on our website. Is it worth the time or cost? How do we know? Well, just like with anything else in business, the main point is to figure out what is your return on your investment. So how much time, how much money have you put into your website, your paid search, your social media posts, how much have you paid to boost things, how much are you paying your interns and your staff to actually listen and keep track of this stuff. That's your investment. So what did you get back out of it? What was the return? Well, typically with return on investment, we almost always look at revenue, but a lot of times with social and web, we're not always talking about sales. We may be talking about things like, you're a hospital, you may be talking about increasing the conversation about colon cancer so that more people are willing to sign up to get a colonoscopy. Well, A, that's not a very sexy topic, but B, also that's not related to revenue. It's related to changing behavior. So again, a lot of times with social, our goal is not just to make money, which means there need to be other ways to measure ROI. And the 3 ways that the textbook suggests are return on engagement, return on influence, and return on experience. And ignore that random apostrophe after experience. Of the 2, you probably only should take engagement and influence seriously, because those are 2 that you probably can assign enough numbers to really do some math. The return on experience is kind of up in the air, touchy-feely a little bit. So with return on engagement, the idea is actually to look at, how did the conversation go? How many people shared your Facebook post? How many people retweeted your tweets? How many people clicked on the links that were on your Facebook post and actually got them to the hospital website that had information about the importance of signing up for a colonoscopy and who the at-risk, people are. And so again, the idea is to say, well, here's how much I've invested in it, and this is what I got back out of it. Now, obviously, your managers are going to like it better if you can say, this conversation led to this kind of revenue. But again, if you've set goals for things like number of people that signed up for your newsletter, people who, shared this story with specific, with their fathers about getting a colonoscopy, and you can see that something was happening, even if it didn't lead to money. Return on influence. This is trying to see how a particular activity in social media changes behavior. And so again, it's not really something that's tied to sales. So it could be political. Are they now following your candidate? Did they like the candidate's page? It could be, again, did they sign up to get more information from you? And this is the return on influence is really used again at times when you're not really focused on sales, and it also recognizes that not all fans are created equally. Some people have influence, so that person shares your story and 100 people see it and reshare it. Some of the rest of us share a story and only 2 people see it and reshare it. Obviously, some of your fans have more influence. So you want to see who you're influencing and how much influence they have on other people. It's a little bit of a trickle down effect. And then the fourth, or I guess the third, the return on experience. The book calls this the most radical variation of ROI. And the idea is for the brand to go above and beyond what the customer expects and earn outsized exposure by shocking the customer. So the idea here is for you to do such a fantastic job with your customer service that people want to talk about it all the time. This is not the kind of thing that you can measure, and and every time you exceed a customer's expectations, their expectations are higher. So often this isn't a set of behaviors that you can continually repeat. It's usually a one-time effect, and that can be pretty expensive. So um, that one's probably not your best option. Engagement and influence probably make more sense, and quite honestly, engagement is probably the easiest to measure. Okay, so if we want to track ROI, there's two broad categories for tracking it. There's the top-down revenue measurement approaches, and then there's the bottom-up measurement models. So within top-down, there's three types: anecdote, correlation, and then the multivariate testing analysis. Um, and so with anecdote analysis, this is a little more, probably the most touchy-feely of the three. It's a verbally expressed relationship between your social or digital media and sales. Um, Business to business companies are going to see this a lot, and this is going to be something if you've got what they call a long sales cycle. So a company like Caterpillar, where their equipment that they're selling literally costs millions of dollars, nobody just walks into a dealership and is like, I'll take one of those. There's a long sales cycle, meaning it takes a while for people to pick what they want. Then they're going to negotiate price, and then once they have it, they're going to keep it for a really long time. So it's not like buying bubble gum. It's not even like buying a car, which some people do every 3 years. This is something that you're going to have for decades. So it's again a really long sales cycle. So often they will rely, they've got very few customers that are buying really expensive things, and so they're going to rely on that relationship and the specific information a specific customer has given them. Correlation analysis is going to have more math to it because now you're trying to establish the relationship between two different variables. So you might look at something like, you know, you might look at something like when we post um, user generated content, we get more shares. Okay, so the idea that people like to see the stuff they made, not the stuff that you like. Or for instance, you could correlate um, maybe when you post things that have got cute animals in it, you get more engagement than you do when you post things without animals. So you're trying to correlate the percentage, the number of shares you get with what the content is of your posts. Multivariate testing analysis, A/B testing is a lot of fun what it's called. Typically what this means is you put out two different versions of a very similar post or a very similar ad, and maybe two different audiences see they each see an ad, but there's a slight variation. We used to do this with couponing all the time. The idea was maybe the people in Peoria got a coupon for 15 cents off, and the people in Rockford got a coupon for 25 cents off. And that allowed us to see, was 15 cents off enough to motivate people to buy? Or did we need to make it, did everybody need to get that 25-cent off coupon? So both communities got coupons, but there was a difference in the price. And then we measure to see which one really brought in more customers or which one brought in enough customers. So for instance, with our paid search, we might focus on a specific attribute of our product, but maybe use a couple of different words to describe it and see which one's more motivating, and so which version gets more click through. Bottom up measurement models. This is a little more detailed, not nearly as math focused. Um, so you're looking at linking and tagging, and the integrated approach, and then the direct commerce approach. So linking and tagging enables marketers to apply a short link or a cookie in a site to track the source of the conversation. Um, One example of this is if you've got a newsletter that you're emailing people, you may want to give them a very specific, you may want to assign a specific URL that if they click through from the newsletter, they get to your website, it's your regular website, but you've got a specific URL that they start out with from the newsletter. And that way that really allows you to say, ooh, here's where the traffic comes from the newsletter. And then we know that the conversation happened because of the newsletter, not because of anything else. Because if you don't put that specialized URL or link in there, your analytics are going to read like people just typed your URL directly into the search bar. Because if you're linking, it's a direct link, and if you just put your regular page in there, it's going to look like people just sat down a computer and typed in your URL instead of clicking through from the newsletter. An integrated approach. Um, this is so specific properties, especially Facebook, allow you to track a user's activity. And this is, um, it gives you some particularly rich data, lets you know about people's other interests. It lets you know about other things they're participating in, not just their behavior related to your page, but really giving you some in-depth analysis of your audience. And then you've got the direct or social commerce approach. And this is really directly correlated to sales. And the book goes into a ton of detail there that you're honestly, in this class, not going to get into that. It's something you're going to want to read and pay attention to for when you're working on these kind of things in the real world. But for this class, that's not something you need. So that's enough for me today. Do video lesson feedback quiz number 5. Keep up on your, you should have started your platform principles modules for Thursday. I'm sorry, for today. But otherwise, have a really great weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday.